Hey guys, this is Katie again. I work at the farm here with my family, and we are getting the garden ready to go, and hopefully we'll start selling produce soon. Ever since I could remember, I wanted to be a mother. When other kids dreamed of lofty careers or a dreamy place to live, I didn't care. I couldn't for the life of me pick a career, partly because I'm fascinated by anything put in front of me, but also because I knew that my career did not matter if I didn't have a happy home. I tossed many options out the door because I knew I didn't want to miss my future children's formative years. After several years of working, I had my first child, and I was enamored. He went everywhere with me, and I did everything with him in my arms or on my back. The only break I took was when the grandparents begged me for some time with their sweet grandbaby. I latched onto this optimistic little go-getter from the first time I saw him, as he had given me purpose in life that I had been missing. I had found a reason to fight my depression, to set boundaries with my job responsibilities, and to just look forward in life with excitement. I was happy and excited about life for the first time in a long time. But later, rather than sooner, I realized that my pendulum had swung to the other side. And a wise man, Pa, once told me that the opposite side of the coin is still the same coin. Anyone that has known me for more than 2 seconds knows that I have 2 gears: go and faster. I may be the quiet one in the room, but I am always moving and thinking of the next move. If I allow myself to rest, I just crash. This served me well until, I matured. You see, the fast-paced, goal-driven overachiever had served its purpose in the flesh, but it was not true happiness. And it didn't serve me well as a mother. I had taken all the drive I'd had for myself, and I was passing it on to this sweet, happy, innocent baby. I was taking care of him with all that I had by pushing my neurosis onto him. Unfortunately, due to his temperament being more similar to his dad's than mine, there was no hiccup. He did what was asked with delight to please. I had to realize that as happy as both of us seemed, I was doing neither one of us any favors. I was keeping him happy by anticipating every problem he would have and preparing him to overcome long before it was necessary. If possible, I would even change the road in front of him. He was so eager to please that it seemed to be the right thing to do. But as he has aged, I've had to realize that being a loving parent doesn't mean that I need to remove all pain and failure from in front of him. I can still be a loving parent by letting him fail. When his life began, he needed me in order to just survive. That need for me has decreased, but I still have a role in his life. It doesn't mean that I love him less. It simply means that I trust the person that God created and the plan that he has for both of us. It can be agonizing to watch him struggle at times and not input my 2 cents, but he's grown to be more confident in himself as a result. The funny thing is that I knew from my own experiences that mistakes make us more confident. We learn what we are capable of and what we cannot do, or maybe what we're not good at. We also learn that we just have mistakes. It does not crush us. We just learn, adjust, and continue growing. Or as Paul says, mistakes are not final nor fatal. As a result of me backing away and giving him the reins, he's also learning how to trust God instead of me. You see, as this young man begins to start on his own journey of Christianity, he doesn't need mom to tell him what to do or what not to do. For like him, I am flawed and full of sin. I can guide him by the example I set in front of him. When he has questions, he comes to me, and I tell him what I did at his age and I try to find scriptures to back my opinion. The reality is that my time with him under my roof is quickly ending. And if he hasn't built the maturity to have a personal relationship with Christ at that point, no amount of shoulda, coulda, woulda from his mom is going to change his behavior or heart. In Proverbs chapter 10, verse 2, the Proverbs of Solomon, a wise son maketh a glad father, but a foolish son is the heaviness of his mother. Treasures of wickedness profit nothing, but righteousness delivereth from death. And in Proverbs chapter 29, verses 15 through 17, it says, The rod and reproof give wisdom, but a child left to himself bringeth his mother to shame. When the wicked are multiplied, transgression increaseth, but the righteous shall see their fall. Correct thy son, and he shall give you rest. Yea, he shall give delight unto your soul. It's not been easy to sit on my hands at times, but God has more than made up for it by showing me that he's always there, orchestrating life much more deeply than I could have ever done, and preparing him to be a confident man of God after his own heart.
Hey, Kate, my daughter-in-law. Kate's married to my youngest son, Jeremiah, and gives me the pleasure of two wonderful children, two wonderful boys. Oh, my God, they're awesome. So, Katie, you bring up something that stirred into me. I think I can remember when my oldest, when Chris was born, and I was there at the hospital, of course, waiting, and back then, you didn't go in the room. You stayed separate. Everything was, do this. You couldn't go in there. And what they did is they brought the baby out into a viewing area, and you viewed it, and the nurse held it and all this stuff. And I remember standing there looking at Christopher, and I'd look from the top to the bottom, the head to the feet, the head to the feet. And finally, I looked up, and the nurse was kind of exasperated, like, what are you doing? And I was thinking, this cannot be mine. This is too real. I mean, I was looking for a stamp that said made in Japan on it because I thought, no, you can't have a real person in your life. But I was like you. I never really had a father. I mean, I didn't know what being a father was. I never had. A lot of people can say, well, I had a good parent, so I'll model after that. And if in your case and in my case, we don't exactly have that role model to go after, then it's really, really hard. It's difficult. We're afraid we're going to make mistakes, and we're afraid they're going to be permanent, and we're going to corrupt this child. It's going to, oh no, perfectionist, yeah. And in the state of, and sometimes I think we indulge in overcorrection. Like if this is what I experienced, I don't want them to experience it, and that's what your blog was talking about. How do I become a parent? How to become a good parent? I've never seen one. I don't know what those are. But I think, as you pointed out, true, and it is true when I look at your boys and the economy of God, you've struggled through, and the greatest struggle and most loving thing you could have ever done is say, I don't want to pass on to them what I don't like in my own life. Whereas I see a lot of parents who go, it doesn't matter. It don't matter about them. Let them work it out themselves. And you're not carefully but carelessly saying that. But I think you've done a magnificent job. Even with all the struggles you have of the fear, and I think more than anything else, it's the fear of failure comes up to you a lot of times. It's like, oh no, I haven't done all for them because they'll have to duplicate it. But I don't see it in them. I really don't. I can remember realizing someday that I didn't know how to be a parent because I hadn't had one. I mean, I had a mother that loved me and a stepfather that didn't, and a real father that I never met. So it was really hard to get a picture for something if you don't know what it was. I mean, the first time this is so funny, first time I ate shrimp, good old West Texas boy, someone offered me a fried shrimp, And I ate the tail and all. Well, that's pretty good, except
It's
that
fried.
last part's kind of what. So, but what God spoke to my heart was this: be what you would want to have had. Even though you didn't have it, you knew what you always wanted. You knew the kind of parent that you wanted, just like you are. You're the kind of parent that's there. It's not saying you have to be me. No, be you. But here's the rules too. You have to follow the rules. I mean, there's some rules that are for protection. And so we have to learn that. And I think your struggle spoke so highly of the struggle that's in all of us well, no, I take that back. The struggle in all of us that struggle with being unloved and knowing how to love in such a way that you want them to be better parents than we were, than we had. And I think you've accomplished that greatly. I mean, go ahead.
Well, I know, I was just thinking, because you want boundaries and you want them to respect, of course, God, but they don't know that. So you have the physical representation, so people. And it's like, but it's like you don't want to take away. Well, how do you say it? You break their will, not their spirit.
Exactly.
And that helped me a lot because I think what I see a lot is people just let them be with no boundaries and no expectation and nothing to live up to. And it's like, I knew I didn't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater, but I didn't want the spirit that God had put in there to be crushed. And and with the fear and with like the anxiety I have and the perfectionism. And it's like, the balance. Like,
see, I see that so much because I see that you could have said, well, I strive for perfection, so I'm going to make them strive for perfection. I'm going to make them mini-me's. But you haven't. You have two sons, and Benjamin, the older son, is definitely not a perfectionist. But you don't come down on him and you don't rail on him. You let him be Ben. Now, Sammy is more close to the perfectionist,
yes, he very easily.
But you don't develop that. I mean, you don't try to say, oh, good, I have a little perfectionist here, or I'm going to make him more so. I think
my protege.
I think I've seen you do such balance in their lives, respecting who they are. And I don't see parents doing that a lot.
Well, yeah, and it's hard because, like you were talking with Samuel, like, he is detail-oriented, and he could very easily follow the mold, and so, like, it's hard to, like, encourage. Like, I appreciate, like, in school, I appreciate you want to get the right answer, but at some point, you have to give what you have and be done. So, it's hard not letting him be crippled by it also.
Right.
But encouraging, like, yes, it's okay that you're looking at the details and you want to understand it forwards and backwards, but that's not for today.
Yeah.
And it like not stifling the curiosity that he has, the natural curiosity. Yeah, it's hard.
Well, I think that perfectionism goes back to the root of control, and control goes back to the root of feeling out of control or unloved, insecure in our environment is what produces that. But when you can say, you know what, man didn't make me, God did. And God made me perfect to be who I am and what I am. But when man tries to do perfect, he screws it all up.
Yes, because they're both very curious, both funny, but in different ways. But they won't have the same, I don't know, strengths. Like that they'll probably like be naturally drawn to like different professions and different ways of carrying out God's mission. But that's the goal. As long as they're carrying out God's mission, it doesn't matter if like one wants to be a veterinarian and one wants to be a scientist or whatever. As long as that's what they're doing.
Yes.
And
Oh, I think your blog definitely speaks to that. I know it spoke to my heart because that's what my goal was always trying to, and I used to think sometimes I tried so hard not to be not for them to experience what I did experience, that I realized that that I was missing the mark. You know, sometimes I was just, and so it came back to being, I don't have to fight against not, I just have to fight against having. I don't have to correct what was in my life. I have to get it from God and get the love from God as a father, as a dad, as he was a dad to Jesus. And then from that perspective, I can just freely open my heart because God made me a father, made you a mother, made me a parent. I think that's great. I think that's great to deal with it and to realize that it's not all problems are like birthday cards. You read them and you put them away sometimes.
It's putting perspective on, like with Samuel on the math, like it's just a math problem. It's not going to determine your future career. It's not going to even determine if you pass or fail this one course. It's one problem. Yes, it's putting mistakes and that detail oriented into perspective. Like there's a time and a place, but now's the time.
Yeah.
You've devoted enough details for today.
Yes. Yeah. And like you said, failure is not fatal nor final with God. And when we look at that, then perfectionism goes away because it's not necessary. Because it doesn't provide the love that God does. And he provides all the grace we need. Thanks, Katie. I really appreciate that insight. I know it'll help other people.
Thank you.
Love you. Bye.
Love you.